You hear about them around campfires, chalked up mostly to being urban legends and myths. But what if there's truth behind the stories of beasts living among us? The next 5 on this list are some of the most mysterious and awesome tales around. It may just make a believer out of you yet. These are the top 5 cryptids and creatures from around the world. Number 5. The Bunyip. Because of its unique geography, Australia has evolved to contain some of the most deadly and unique wildlife on the planet. And one such creature that's said to exist there is called the Bunyip. Dismissed by some as Aboriginal lore, early English settlers to the continent have recorded hundreds of sightings of this unusual creature. The Bunyip is believed to be mainly a freshwater dweller that over the years has developed a taste for human flesh. It's attacked people and believed to have killed a handful of Aborigines over the years. What's so unusual about it is that no one who has seen it can seem to describe it in the same way. The creature looks so different that it's hard for witnesses to be sure of what they're actually looking at. Descriptions range from the seemingly strange to the absolute bizarre. For instance, some say it has the head of a crocodile, but with a dog-like face. It also bears a tail similar to that of a horse, and a coat of thick, dark fur. It's also been described as having a snake-like appearance, with a huge mane and body. Still, there's others that have talked about it being enormous in size, while others say it was no larger than a dog. Despite these differences, it's widely agreed that the Bunyip seems designed to be both a land and water dweller, with powerful hind legs and long claws. At night, its howls can be heard, and most Aborigines avoid swampy areas where it frequents. Because of the contradicting physical characteristics, it's possible the witnesses may have encountered completely different cryptid creatures instead of just one. Despite its unusual looks and violent nature, the Aborigines often view the creature as a sort of water spirit or protector that punishes those who have done evil. As for proof that it exists, various newspaper reports have been documented along with sightings of the creature. A supposed Bunyip skull was even found in 1845 inside a cave in Wellington. Sightings have been recorded all over Australia, but the majority of the reported ones in the 1800s centered on Lake Bathurst and Lake George. And the Bunyip remains a popular cryptid today that many believe still lurks the swampy Australian outback. Number 4. Dinosaur in Papua New Guinea. Dinosaurs are fascinating creatures. We love watching movies like Jurassic Park, where the idea of living, breathing dinosaurs coexisting with man is made into a reality. Crocodiles and sharks lived when the dinosaurs did and still exist today. So is it possible that there's other dinosaurs that survived extinction as well? In Papua New Guinea, many believe that dinosaurs still continue to live on their many islands. Eyewitness reports have been going strong for years, and there are 2 distinct species that have been spotted. The first of these is that of the ropin. Soon after World War II, missionaries began to reach out in the deep jungles of Papua New Guinea. Many of these Western missionaries would report their encounters of a creature the locals called the ropin, which means demon flyer. Military personnel Dwayne Hodgkinson was assigned to the country in 1944 when one afternoon in August, while walking down a forest trail, he heard a large crash in the nearby brush. When he looked, he saw a large bird-like creature rising from the ground that circled a few times before flying away. Dwayne, who was an experienced pilot, estimated that the creature had at least a 20-foot wingspan and was dark gray in color. It also had a long neck with a signature crest on its head. Its wings looked similar to those of a bat, and its tail was long and flanged, much like a flipper. Interestingly, in 1959, a curious sea chart tells mariners to be on the lookout for sea monsters. In the chart, it showed 2 flying creatures, both with the same characteristics as the ropin. Scientists believe that if indeed the ropin exists, it could be a type of a small pterosaur. It's not just in Papua New Guinea either. Other nearby islands like that of Seram in Indonesia also have a terrifying flying creature that they called Orang Bati, which translates to men with wings. This creature is very similar to the ropin with its enormous leathery bat wings, and supposedly lives inside the caves of Mount Karatu, an extinct volcano. Oddly enough, the ropin isn't the only possible dinosaur or mysterious creature seen on Papua New Guinea. Another sighting is that of the Lake Murray monster. Covering about 70 square miles, the lake actually expands and shrinks depending on the season, but its shoreline holds various inlets and swampy coves. It's in this area where the Murray monster has been spotted, and it's described as looking similar to that of a theropod. In December of 1999, locals reported seeing the creature wading through the shallow water close to Boba. The next day, a pastor and a church elder saw the same animal close to the original sighting. It was described as having a body as large as a dump truck, with a long tail and slender long neck. Its two hind legs had a rounded shape like a coconut tree trunk. Its head looked similar to that of a cow, and it had large eyes and rows of long teeth. Moreover, the skin is likened to that of a crocodile, with large triangular plates on its back. Although reports alone aren't enough to definitively say extinct dinosaurs have survived, the amount of sightings and credible eyewitnesses is enough to give you a pause. After all, for a long time we believed creatures like the coelacanth and the rainbow frog were extinct, but it turns out they're not. So it is possible that maybe, in some form, there are dinosaur species still around. Number 3. The Gray Man. The Gray Man is described as a huge humanoid creature that haunts anybody attempting the summit or the passes of the Ben Macdui, the second highest peak in Scotland. Many have reported being haunted by the Gray Man, but only a few can actually describe him. Those who have mentioned he's around 8 to 10 feet tall with olive skin and short gray hair, hence the name. Cryptozoologists believe it's more related to a Yeti because it lives in the mountains as opposed to the Sasquatch. More than that, its presence is often described as a physical sensation instead of an actual physical form. The first prominent account of the Gray Man comes from noted climber J. Norman Colley in 1891. He didn't talk about the experience until 1925, and recounted that 35 years prior, when he was alone on the summit of the Ben Macdui, he began hearing something aside from his own footsteps. For every few steps he took, he would hear a large crunch on the ground, as if someone was walking right behind him but taking 3 or 4 steps the length of his own. He became so afraid that he said he ran 4 or 5 miles without stopping. Another climber, Hugh D. Welsh, also recounted that in 1904 he was also near the summit of the mountain when he began hearing a slurring of footsteps and became extremely fearful. Peter Densham, a rescue worker and mountaineer, also said he felt a crunching noise and was overcome with fear and apprehension while on the mountain in 1945. In 1958, Alexander Tunian, a mountaineer and naturalist, also recounted his encounter in the Scots magazine. He said that he was on a 10-day climb when he finally reached the summit of the Ben Macdui. Soon afterwards, a mist covered the area, and up ahead he could hear a seemingly odd sound similar to a footstep. It became louder and got closer to where he was until he could make out a looming dark shape in the distance. Soon the shape began advancing towards him, so he pulled out his revolver and fired 3 times toward it, but it kept on coming. In his fear, he turned around and made a run for it until he reached Glenderry. These encounters and many more seem to indicate there's some sort of creature that lives on that mountain. What it is exactly is yet to be discovered. Number 2. The Loch Ness Monster. Perhaps no other cryptid is as popular as the Loch Ness Monster. Nicknamed Nessie, this mysterious aquatic creature reportedly inhabits Lake Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. The Loch Ness Monster has been described as having a huge body with a long neck and either one or two humps that protrude from the water whenever it surfaces. The first report of the creature existing was in 565 AD. The biography of the Irish monk St. Columba details how a giant water beast tried to drag a man to his death in the river Ness. But it wasn't until 1933, when a road was being created alongside the river, that sightings really began to rise. By 1934, the famous photograph of a supposed Nessie was printed in the papers. It showed what looked like a long-necked creature emerging from the dark waters of the lake. The image, of course, was later exposed as a hoax and was nothing but a toy submarine, but that didn't stop people from reportedly seeing the beast. Because of the images and the succeeding sightings, many believe that Nessie may have been a remnant plesiosaur, a creature thought to have died out 65 million years ago. Others suggest Nessie may be an archaeocite, a type of ancient whale with a long serpent-like neck. By the 60s, British authorities were especially vigilant, launching various expeditions to find out once and for all if Nessie was around. Although nothing conclusive was found, in almost every instance they managed to capture large moving objects underwater using sonar. In 1975, an unusual image capturing what appeared to be a giant flipper underwater was even cited as possible proof that Nessie exists. More recently, a supposed sighting happened in September of 2016 when an amateur photographer took a photo from the banks and believed that it might be that of the elusive creature. In July of 2017, a Sydney couple driving along the western side of Loch Ness also captured a unique image. Today, Nessie's legend is alive and well. Many tourists still flock to Loch Ness hoping to capture a glimpse of the mysterious creature for themselves and prove once and for all that this is a very real monster living among us. Number 1. Arang Pendick. Considered by many as the mini Bigfoot, the Arang Pendick is a mysterious creature that's been regularly sighted by locals in the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. Meaning short person, it's described by anthropologists and cryptozoologists as a primate-like creature with thick reddish-brown fur. It stands on 2 legs and features humanoid characteristics, but is only around 3 feet in height. But despite its small stature, it's said to have enormous strength and can easily uproot small trees. Even though it's classified as a primate, it spends most of its time on the ground just like gorillas. Locals say that they're primarily vegetarian because it's been seen in fields of their crops and even has a special affinity to the durian fruit. However, they admit to staying out of its way because of its brute strength. Some of the more prominent sightings of the creature come from locals, but a few Westerners have also seen it. During the early 20th century, Dutch colonist Dr. van Heerwaarden described seeing the beast while surveying some land in 1923. He said it was a dark and hairy creature that had normal-shaped toes and long arms. Another colonist, Mr. Oosting, initially mistook it as a local when he saw it until he got close enough and realized that it wasn't. He described it as having thick shoulders and short hair. He also made it clear it wasn't an orangutan because he had seen one before and said it didn't look anything like it. More recent attempts at finding the Arang Pendick come from a British researcher named Debbie Martyr, who's been studying them for over 15 years. She's collected countless eyewitness accounts and attempted to even capture the animal on film, but without any luck. A more recent study, headed by Adam Davies, managed to track down the creature and even obtain possible hair samples as well as a footprint. The samples were sent to experts, and they reported that the footprint didn't belong to any known primates. Meanwhile, the hair sample was also analyzed, and it's believed to belong to an undocumented type of primate. There's still no solid photographic evidence of the existence of the Arang Pendick. Many, however, say that it's only a matter of time. The animal recently has also become increasingly more brazen, ransacking many locals' food storage areas. Maybe soon they will lose their fear of humans completely and be more open to showing themselves, at which point in time we'll know for sure that they do in fact exist. Those were the top 5 cryptids and creatures from around the world. As technology advances and populations grow, the world is becoming a smaller place. So it could be any day now when we finally prove these cryptids, and perhaps more of their kind, truly exist. Let us know what you think of these creatures in the comments, and remember to subscribe so that each Sunday we can bring you a new video to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.